My guest today is Rhianwen Seiter. She is the leader and co-founder of McKenzie Quarters, which features one of Bendigo's best restaurants, Ms Batterhams. And I have had some special moments at this restaurant and have just experienced its greatness firsthand, and I can't wait to show you the behind the scenes of that great restaurant and the business that encompasses it. Take it away. Rhianwen, how cool is this? You are the first, second hospo business I've had on, but the first female in this studio talking to me. I'm so excited to hear about all of your amazing elements to your business because there are so many of them. But firstly, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to come in.
Ah, shucks, thank you. What an honour. The first lady.
Yeah, the first lady.
Just call me first lady from here on in.
Well, you've got license to use that term now.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
I've always wanted that. That's not been on my top list. Top of my list. Life goals. First lady.
Great. Yeah, you need to go home and just tell Andrew that, now my new title. First lady.
He'll be right on board.
Great. All right, let's get to business, right?
Yep.
So you run McKenzie Quarters and Ms Batterhams, and they are both just freaking brilliant businesses and amazing hospitality and event spaces and all sorts of things. But please, why don't you paint the picture of the whole ecosystem? Like, where are these businesses based, and what describe both of them for me?
All right. Okay. Well, full disclosure. Firstly, I should admit I don't run it on my own.
Yes, of course.
There are a number of people that assist me, but most importantly, my brother and I run the business together. So
awesome.
I've got two brothers, so it's just the middle child brother that I run the business with, not the youngest. He's off doing his own thing.
Do your brothers have names?
Yes. Can I say them?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I mean, can you?
Yeah, of course. I don't like to give him too much of a profile. No, so Ellis is the brother that I run the business with, and Reese is the little brother who runs his own business. But that's a story for another day.
Okay, love it. All right.
Yep.
Alice, what a legend. I have been served by Alice at Ms Batterhams many times, and what a dude.
Yeah, he's
so
great.
good.
He is great. And it's interesting. I mean, we digress already. We just started. But a lot of people say, don't go into business with your brother and, don't go into business with family or friends or whatnot. But I think a sibling relationship is quite different.
Yeah.
And you just don't ever hold grudges. And we actually agreed that if we ever could not agree on something, business related, and we were really like at loggerheads on it, we would flip a coin. And we haven't had to flip a coin yet. And
No coin flips?
No coin flips. And it's been like 4.5 years now. So
whoa.
Yeah, so it's good. Yeah.
Okay, so you run it with
Yes.
Alice. Tell me, what is Ms Batterhams? What is McKenzie Quarters?
Yeah, so we call the whole complex McKenzie Quarters.
Right.
We're based in Bendigo. We're based on McKenzie Street in Bendigo. And it sort of has 4 elements. And we said so that hence the quarters, McKenzie Quarters, obviously the location. It's on McKenzie Street and Quarters because there's 4 elements to the business. So the first element of the business is what actually started first, which was the residence. So we do accommodation. So boutique accommodation, it's 5 bedrooms. It's a beautiful old sort of stately house, and you can rent the whole premises and enjoy a beautiful weekend or a few days or whatever with friends or business acquaintances or whatever, however you want to use the accommodation element.
Wow.
So that's the first element. That started out really back in 2015. We welcomed our first guest. So that was sort of the initial start of the idea, and we built from there. And then the other element is Ms Batterhams, which is a restaurant. So that is, we would say, like a restaurant lounge bar kind of feel. It's sort of a speakeasy type feel. There's velvet booths, there's bespoke cocktails, there's a huge wine list, and it's sort of Southern European inspired food. We share it to the table. And it's, we can cater for groups of 2 to groups of 10. So it's a special night out, or it's just a date night, or it's a group with friends drinking cocktails. So that sort of environment. And that's set in the basement of number 10 McKenzie Street. And above that is what we call McKenzie Hall. And McKenzie Hall is where we do our functions and events. So we do anything from weddings to corporate events. We do, we've done book launches. We've done gin events, gin tasting days, like similar to sort of Ginapalooza, like but smaller scale. With 8 distilleries, we've done, we do Bendigo on the Hop every year. We have a lot of pharmaceuticals who down there and do an education piece. So it's, so lots of different things, cocktail styles, seated. I've made it a movie cinema at times. Like there's been lots of different, it's an Oktoberfest. This, October, it's a, what is it? A hall, a beer hall.
Yeah, a beer hall
in October.
That would work so well in that space.
Yes. So,
wow.
So so that's the third element.
Right.
And then the fourth element, I have to admit, we've chopped and changed the fourth element. So, which we could talk about if you want to talk about things that don't work.
Yes, please.
But the fourth element has been a gelati cart, which is no longer a gelati cart. The fourth element has been some outdoor dining elements. Yes. So, but now it is actually going to be, or is in the process of being, our off-site catering. Nice. We've just expanded out to, so we're doing a pop-out to Tellurian Winery in Heathcote. Yes. So we've been doing that every Saturday for the last few weeks.
Wow.
That ends on the 31st of August. We started at the end of June. And so we're out there doing lunch service. It's a set menu and out there every week.
Wow.
Yeah. But we've gone off-site other places. So we're also working in with Sanguine Estate Wines and the Chamber Music Festival to offer their catering for their big, huge weekend that they do at the end of October. So we did that last year and we're doing that again this year. So
rocking.
Yeah. So that's the fourth element.
I love it. I have tasted the gelati cart. A little sad that doesn't exist anymore, but that's okay. Wow. So Quarters, that's amazing. There's so much to that business.
Yes.
How do you, firstly, we're going to dive into details on a few of them, but how do you manage four really distinct offerings and almost micro arms to a business, right? Micro businesses within one. How do you manage all of those?
Some days not so well. Some days really nail it. It just depends.
Right.
Well, I think the key is for us, we had a really clear business plan right from the word go. So really clear plan of how this was going to look, and when I guess when we first started, and I should step back a little bit because when we first started, when we found the building, so my husband and I purchased the building back in 2014, and we had always been on the lookout for a wedding reception venue. Like we wanted to run a wedding reception venue from the moment that we got married back in 21 years ago now. We sort of thought, that's our retirement strategy. Well, not, that's our goal. That's our, and a retirement strategy for my husband out of the law, which hasn't happened and won't happen. But anyway, it was kind of that pipe dream, right?
Yeah.
And so we were looking for a venue that could do accommodation and could also do weddings and events. So, and we actually tried to buy the old Kyneton Hospital several times.
Really?
And lucky for us, we didn't, because I think that would have been a too big a project. But we found the properties on Mackenzie Street back in 2014 and we're like, this is perfect because we've got the accommodation element, we've got the hall, and we're right in the heart of Bendigo. It's really central. It's they're beautiful buildings.
Yeah.
And then we went in when we were reviewing them and we went downstairs from the hall down into the basement area, which is now Ms Batterhams. And we went, wow, this is a whole nother space. Like this could be a whole nother offering, like a whole bar or restaurant or, sort of that started to brew. So then from that, I guess, informed the business plan a little bit more. And it was like, well, if we can make a restaurant and a bar the kind of offering on a day-to-day basis that can fund the salaries, that can be the main income earner, then the events side of things will be the icing on the cake, and that will be the profit, and that will be, because it's easier to make an event profitable than it is to make a restaurant profitable, because you know exactly how many people are coming in and what your catering costs are going to be right from the onset.
Yeah.
So that informed the business plan.
Wow.
And then the accommodation sort of partnered in with that, saying, well, if we're doing events, you could rent the accommodation and get married and stay next door and alleviate all that stress that goes with sort of being off-site from your venue. And if you're right next door, you can oversee it if you really want to, but you can feel much more comfortable that you're going to arrive on time for a start.
Yeah.
And, and not have to travel anywhere after you finish. So kind of easy. Yeah, no-brainer.
Love that.
So that really informed the business plan. And I think that probably has helped us over the years.
Yeah.
And we were like, you know what? Weddings. You know what? They're pretty. Everyone still gets married. Even in a recession, people get married. So we're like, we've totally got this recession-proof business plan. Awesome, amazing. We're going to nail this. Life's good. And so, and then we opened in February 2020.
Yes.
And as you now know, a month later, turns out weddings aren't global pandemic proof. So,
you thought you were gearing up like for a potential terrible event, which would be a recession. What's worse than a recession? Nothing could be worse than a recession for businesses, right?
Yeah, nothing.
I remember when it started, there was, people talking about all sorts of things, and they were saying, they're probably going to have to close down like the whole economy and the whole country. I'm like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Like if they close down everything, like we'd lose trillions every day.
Yeah. How could that possibly be feasible?
No, that's not going to happen. And then it happened.
It happened. Yeah.
Wow. And I remember those days, specifically to Ms Batterhams, because I was like so excited for this new restaurant bar offering thing. I was like, I love like fine dining and like just great food, really good service. That's my jam.
Yeah.
And so really excited. And then what did you do?
Well, that first month was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It was really great. And we thought we were so busy. We were like, we were just like crazy running around.
Yeah.
And we'd had such a good lead up to the opening. I think we'd done, we'd been in town for a while and there'd become a bit of interest. We had the right, sort of display up around the building. So kind of like, we're coming soon, we're opening soon. And we opened on schedule. So we did open when we said we were going to. I'm so thankful to our builders and our team, because I think if we had have been delayed by even a couple of weeks, we wouldn't be having the same conversation today. So thank you to all the people that made that opening possible. I can't list them all because there's too many. It was a massive team, massive effort. So
it looks phenomenal in there.
Yeah,
like, amazing.
Thank you.
Great spot.
Yeah.
I'll tell some stories later on. But so what did you do? Like, what was going through your mind when you're like, you've launched a great successful launch and then like shut down looming? What I can't even remember what happened first.
Yeah. So what actually happened is that people stopped coming. So it was really interesting. Like I think people got really scared. So then we just saw the bookings stop going into the system. And we're like, we in the end were sort of like, we need the government to actually mandate something because everyone's too scared to come out anyway. So we kind of were at that point. But I was actually hosting our open day for weddings for the future, like trying to book weddings for, next year and the year after and whatnot. Yeah. Had all this, the suppliers there, the florist was there, we had the travel agent, everybody was there to kind of showcase, this is what you could book your wedding and this is what it could look like and everything ready to go. And then obviously not too many showed up. A few people showed up. But then that afternoon was when they called it and said, no, we're now going into a lockdown and the first lockdown. So that I think happened within that week. So we're like, okay. So we had a management meeting. So luckily we hadn't actually employed a huge team at that point. We had, I think there were 5 permanent staff members at that point, and everyone else was casual. We thought we sort of planned that to, let's start casual and build up and work out what our normal looks like, and then we'll hire people more permanently. And that was lucky, I think, from we didn't have too many overheads cost-wise with staffing. So I said, got the head chef and my brother and I rolled out the whiteboard literally, and I was like, right. No idea is too silly. Like, let's put everything on this board. What can we do?
Yes.
Because they hadn't announced that there were any government subsidies or help at that point. So we were like, how are we going to still generate an income here? So that's when, Winnie on Wheels was born.
Yes.
So, you say yay. I say, oh my God, trauma. But anyway.
And so just explain what Winnie on Wheels is for people who
aren't in Bendigo and had no idea what was going on there.
Yeah. Well, not dissimilar to many hospitality venues. Winnie on Wheels was take home, dine at home kind of food opportunity. So initially it was hot heat and eat pies, like, really sort of hearty chicken pies and Wagyu beef pies. And then we also did a period where we did hot takeaways. So we'd cook the meals and then people could pick them up or we'd deliver them.
Yep.
And then we did the take-home pack. So the gourmet kind of, you have 3-course or 4-course meal and then you prepare it, follow the instructions and heat it at home.
Yeah.
And Winnie was born from, so Ms Batterhams was actually Winifred Batterham. So Winnie came from Winnie on Wheels and she had a little moped. So she had her own, identity. And actually when I used to drop off the food, people would be like looking at going, where's the moped?
Yes.
Oh, it's raining today. Not bringing it out today.
That's so funny because that's what I pictured. I just pictured you on a moped.
Pretty much, you went alone.
That's so good.
Ellis actually has his motorbike license, so he could have been on the moped, but I didn't. And actually, super funny story. I've never told anyone this. The moped that we used for all the photo shoots didn't actually work. So we had to push it everywhere. I've never told anyone it. So I come out there now, full disclosure. Really good friend of mine.
It was never a working moped.
It was never a working moped.
I love that.
So anyway.
I did get some of those heat at home packs and they were honestly a joy in what was like, a pretty not joyless, but there was a few opportunities for real delight. And you just we were hanging out a lot at home, and that was about it. So having like this like gourmet delivered with a few instructions and things, and it just lit up a couple of our nights. So
that's so nice.
Thank you for playing a part in what was a very weird time of life.
It was so weird. And we have to say thank you to the Bendigo community because we just got overwhelming support for that, and that kept us going too because we'd only just opened and we're like, everyone's like, we want to see you back open, so we're just gonna keep buying Winnie, and so we had
buying Winnie.
And I think people coming out for their takeaway was at their social encounter for the, it's like, I'll go pick it up.
Another human.
I'll be the one.
Yes,
exactly.
Another person.
Wow.
But what a wild time. And so that was successful enough to keep you going through the lockdowns?
Yeah. And we did you ever watch Batty Hour?
No.
Okay, well you can go back and have a look at those videos because they're quite hilarious.
Can't
No. So we did a happy Batty Hour, and once a week we would on a Friday night we'd do a cocktail making session live on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
So I would sit on the side of the bar and drink the cocktails, and Ellis, my brother, would make the cocktails. So I loved it. It was so great. And so then I would read all the comments and we'd tell everyone the ingredients just before and the week leading up, and we'd theme it. So as a child, Ellis is going to kill me for this too. Look at you. I just like volunteering all this information.
Yeah, it's just a free space.
I used to dress him up as a child. So it's actually probably fine. If he was in today's world, it'd be actually okay. But back then, perhaps not so. So he'd often be in my dresses or my mum's dresses or in his high heels. Like he was constantly, I just dress him. He was like my little, toy doll. Anyway, so in comes Happy Batty Hour, and then I'm like, right, this is the week we're doing the French theme. This is the week we're doing the goth theme.
Oh,
and
wow.
So for the goth theme, I did his makeup and everything for the French theme. I said, this is what you have to wear. Anzac Day, I made him dress up like a digger. Like he was just, we had all of these each week, and he'd be like, and he's happily doing it. He's such a good brother.
It's like a throwback to your childhood, right? It's just like, wait, well, I know what we can do here. We've done this before.
Yeah, exactly. Reliving it all. Meanwhile, his wife is cringing at home. She's just like, what are you doing? And I'm like,
what are you doing to my husband?
But like you said, we needed some little joys in a crazy world. And so we did that. So yeah, you can go back and watch them. They're all still in public domain.
Love it. I've got my cocktail making little bits and pieces at home. I'll crack them out and relive Goth Alice.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Oh,
wow.
Funny.
So you got through the old challenge of our time. And what happened next? Like, tell me a little bit about the journey and the development of Ms Batterhams and the whole business. What were some of the wins along the way?
So that those first 2 years were quite challenging, and for those who weren't in Victoria, they might not know, but we had lockdowns, and then we had opened up, and then we locked down again, and there were lots of restrictions. You could have 10 people, and you could have 20, and then sometimes you could have 5 on a dance floor, and sometimes you could only have people who were with a mask on a dance floor, and you could walk around if you had a mask on, but you had to sit down to eat and drink and.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was quite confusing. So that first 2 years was like we're just watching those press releases going, okay, what can we do
Does
now?
anyone know what they're doing? Those rules, I tell you what, you can sit down. If you're sitting down, no danger.
Yeah.
If you're standing up, you make sure you have that mask on because you're a danger to society. That was just like. That was Comedy Central. Like I was following all like Jimmy Rees and like a heap of these comedians.
Was funny.
So it was just like it was comedian fuel that time.
It wasn't it? And just like, so you never knew what you were going to walk into. For, which planning for weddings and events was really tricky. But anyway, so we got through those 2 years, and then when we first opened, we decided Ms Batterhams was only going to be open 4 days a week. So we initially started. Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday for lunch and dinner. And then as we got some, some experience under our belt, as we got a stable team involved after we came out of the pandemic, we went, okay, we're ready to open up another day. So then we opened up a Wednesday, and then now it's been I think 2 years that we've opened up 7 nights a week.
Wow.
So we still do the 4 lunches, but we're open full-time 7 nights a week.
Whoa,
so,
7 nights.
And I think that all depended on having the right staff, having, I guess the right clientele, as having built a reputation a bit more, so being able to offer some more. And so they did that. And then the events have grown as well. So we initially we were renting the space out, and we're doing our own events as well. So working out what works, what doesn't. We did a variety of wine dinners. We've done gin. We've done now whiskey as well. We've done movie nights, as I said before. We've what else have we done that's a little bit different? We've done some charity events as well.
Yep.
So art galleries, we've turned the place into an art gallery for exhibitions during Easter time. And we do a lot of weddings as well, and beautiful ceremonies. So
wow, that's a lot.
So that's grown and expanded. So
I love that. I being the hospitality side of things, obviously the restaurant is just like, it's honestly one of my favorite ever. The one cool story, Sammy was pregnant with our first, and we were like, it was approaching the due date, and we were like, she really wanted to have a natural birth and didn't want to be induced and all that sort of stuff. And so we were like, we had our little friend bubble. You remember you had to have a bubble of people you're only allowed to hang out with, these couple of people. So we had our friends, Ben and Shani, and they're foodies as well. And so we're like, Sammy was so pregnant, but we thought we'll go out. And it was like one of the first opportunities I think we were able to go out to, like, restaurants dine in person again. And so we went to Ms Batterhams and had a great old time, lots of laughs, and it was a fantastic meal, great wine, although Sammy didn't have any of that. And then that night, went home, and Quinny, our first, was born the next day.
Wow.
And, I reckon it kicked off labour for Sammy. So, anyone pregnant listening to this, you think your little cherub might need a helping hand. Ms Batterhams as you go.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Because I know at that end, I've got 3 kids, and I always say this, but better out than in at the end. You're just so ready for that baby to come. So absolutely, Sammy's very welcome, and clearly there's something in the water.
That's right. And I should have checked. I was saying off air before, but I should have checked with Sammy what the story was with the second, because I reckon we had a thought, like she was very pregnant at the end, and we had a thought, maybe we should just go to Ms Batterhams. And we did a few times. So, it's played a role at very key moments in our life, right, of the recent times. But tell me a little bit about, for those that aren't aware, like, what is your approach been? Like, let's go restaurant business,
Yeah.
nuts and bolts. I've just finished reading the book Unreasonable Hospitality. Have you?
No.
You will
Ooh.
eat this up.
Right.
So
I'll put it
it's
on my list.
It's written by Will Guidara, who didn't start. He took 11 Madison Park in New York to the best restaurant in the world on the top 50 best restaurants in the world list.
That's so funny, right?
Tell
we were
me.
going to go there when we were in New York last
Really?
year, and
No.
I didn't book it. I booked somewhere else instead, and that's a really funny story for another day. But I didn't book it because he'd moved vegan. He'd moved completely to a vegan. And the girls were like, yeah. So it's only recent, the last year
There
or
you
two.
go.
So
Well,
our plant-based
that's so funny.
menu. So there you go.
There you go. That's the recent
should've-
development of the story. I think he's sold it. He's not part of that.
or maybe
part
that's
of the
right.
restaurant anymore. But Unreasonable Hospitality. I've just been like, my mind's been in like the trenches of building and growing and becoming more excellent as a restaurant business for like the last couple of months. So it's like you're coming in at the right space where I'm primed and ready to ask you all the questions. How did you position? Like you wanted to come bring like this sense of the vibe of the place, but then the quality of the food to this venue and this restaurant you were building. How did you kind of first position and pick where in the spectrum of restaurants are you going to deliver? What type of offering are you going to deliver for Bendigo? Like, how did you position that first concept?
I think Ellis had worked at Movida in Melbourne for
Yes, I love Movida.
for a long time. So I think he was there for about 10, 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And before that, he was at the Supper Club. So he had kind of all the European. So he was had quite a long-standing relationship with really good food and really good wine. So it was always going to be, we always wanted to do a really quality offering.
Yep.
And when we looked at the values for our business as well, we really grew up with a lot of quality time around the dinner table and conversations and interactions. And so it was always about trying to bring together those elements of, let this be a place where people can really enjoy each other's company and celebrate and just have a beautiful experience. So, I guess that's where that initially stemmed from. And when we worked out what the values would be, excuse me, for the business, it was about making sure that there was a quality offering, that it was always going to be a really fun, enjoyable space, that it was a place where people could really connect with each other and build new relationships. I mean, I always say this when we run our events, is please introduce yourself to the person next to you or opposite from you and make some new friends, because, it is this place that you can then, share a story together and perhaps a journey into the next, week with them or weeks after that. And generosity was a really big one, being generous with the serving sizes, but the feeling that the wine's always flowing, or that the time you generate or dedicate to the business is always there as well. Like you feeling like you're giving more. So, so I guess that's how it sort of really began. And then when we looked at the name of the business and where it would come into, how that would come into play. So then it was like, what, and I should say that story. I haven't told you that story.
Please.
But so Ms Batterhams, so Winifred Batterham was actually Mum's kindergarten teacher, music teacher. So
really?
Yeah. So when we bought the properties back in 2014, Mum said, "Do you know I went to kinder there?" And I was like, who knows where their mum went to kinder? Like, do you know where your mum went to kinder? No. So I was like, no, I didn't know. I said, well, who was your teacher? And she said, that's when she said Winifred Batterham. So we did some research on Winifred Batterham, and she was pretty much dedicated to her career. So she was a music teacher, and she wrote the Bendigo Song of the Year back in 1952. We've actually got the song as the background of our menus.
Yeah.
And that informed a lot of the then once we named it Ms Batterham after Mum's music teacher, that sort of, she then got, developed a personality, and that personality was this music lover. So there's music elements throughout the basement, throughout Ms Batterhams. What sort of cocktails would she like? What could we imagine she was drinking? What sort of a personality? And then what colours does that deep green and that orange that you see, the rich orange. So it really kind of all developed along from that. I guess gaining momentum as well in a personality. So yeah, and I think also when we looked at our customer base, it was a little bit. It's sort of my customer base. Like I was the customer, those, and in my 40s at that point, early 40s at that point in time, or late 30s, and what women make the bookings, and what do we want? We want nice cocktails, and we want really nice wine, and we want to eat good food, and we want to come with our girlfriends and hang out and in a booth and chat, and so that also informed the direction of the restaurant in terms of the fit out as well. So and the brand. So
wow, and so the space was a school and a kindergarten.
Yeah,
and your mum went to kindergarten in that building.
Yes. And my uncle went to Scouts there, so it was a Scouts hall as well. And so he was there in Scouts. So it was quite a diverse offering there back then. So I think they did school plays, and they did, it was like a community hall.
Wow, that's amazing. Let's talk about metrics, success metrics when it comes to restaurants. What kind of recognition have you got for the work you've been doing and what you've built there?
Yeah. Well, we see the recognition in terms of the repeat business, so customers coming back to us and that feedback that comes directly to us as well. But most importantly is actually our staff. Like when we set up the business, we wanted to have to create a workplace where people are really proud to work, and they love coming to work, because you spend so much time at work. You spend most of your time at work. So if you can't enjoy your time and be proud of where you work and, I guess love what you do, then you're not in the right job as far as I can see. So that was really crucial that we create this family, this feeling that people would feel part of the family at McKenzie Quarters. Which made them sort of feel more accountable for their job as well, and so that they could, and giving them the right tools so they can do the best possible job. And then we of the philosophy that we're not going to have people for life. We love that they stay with us, and we love to see them develop. But even better, like my proud moment is when they, go and open up potentially their own business down the track, or inspired to do something different or great, or feel the confidence to spread their wings. So, and I've left that. I guess that ongoing impression on them that they'll then take forward and be kind to others and help others develop and help others be more successful and themselves. So that's actually probably the biggest thing of success. What's the word I'm looking for? Measure of success for us is how long and how much our engaged our employees are. So I did do a recent employment engagement survey, because I sort of thought they probably seemed pretty happy.
Yeah.
But I was like, right, let's actually just test the water on a confidential survey. And
what kind of questions do you ask on that?
Yeah, so things along those lines, whether they're proud to work for McKenzie Quarters, what they enjoy most about their role, do they get the right amount of support in their role? What more could they be, could we be doing to make this a better workplace? Those sorts of questions to really understand, test the water, where are people at? And it was really beautiful to see this information come back, and it was like, I feel like part of the family. I am so proud to work at McKenzie Quarters. I love my job. I am getting the right support, and it was really good. I think there were two people that came back and said that they didn't. There was some sort of they didn't necessarily know the direction of the business, and I was like, right, I can be better at kind of informing those people on where we're going and what's happening and how I can better communicate with what's going on in the business moving forward. So it is a perfect opportunity to kind of, like I said, test the water, make sure you actually know what's going on with your employees, and also if you're, measuring your own success. So
love that. Measuring your success by having a really solid finger on the pulse of your customer base, and knowing are they getting what we're trying to do here, and are they receiving the value that we're wanting to provide is a really good measure. And I love how you focus on the team, because they're the ones delivering it in the largest part, right? You and your brother aren't going to be able to serve every table, or
no.
So that is awesome, a great measure of success as well. Let's go industry wide. How much attention do you pay to what people are writing about? Like, how much attention do you pay to things like the Good Food Guide? What are some of those? And feel free to educate me here.
Yes.
Like, what are some metrics and press, I suppose, that do you pay much attention to external press, and do you put any goals on for the industry recognition that the restaurant might be able to achieve?
Yeah, it is a good question. I think it's yes and no, because there is a lot of noise out there, and it is, at the end of the day, we've got our own personal goals, as I've talked about, having a really happy staff and delivering on what we said we were going to deliver on, and they're our measures ultimately. But yeah, so there is a lot of noise and I guess a lot of competition as well.
Yeah.
And it would, that recognition externally would be would be great to be recognised. And recently, obviously, we were recognised in our Bendigo Business Awards, and being the winner of the gastronomy award. So that's amazing. That's really super proud of that.
Well, let's just pause there for a moment, because and tell that story. The Bendigo Business Excellence Awards, there are an immense amount of entries across a whole bunch of categories.
Yep.
The one that you were nominated for and finalist in, and then won, was the Gastronomy Award. The Bendigo is actually designated a UNESCO City of Gastronomy, right? And for those who don't know what that means, I'll ask you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why am I saying it? What does it mean to be designated as a city of gastronomy?
Yeah. Well, it's only a recent acknowledgement or an accolade that Bendigo has, and I think it's something that is still developing with that acknowledgement. And so it is about, and I don't know all of the pillars, but I think there's 5 pillars that make up the core for the city of gastronomy, for Bendigo being a city of gastronomy, and ultimately it's that concept of paddock to plate. It's very much being able to, and it's a region. It's not just a city as such. There is a region around Bendigo that then support that city of gastronomy. So, coming from the farmers and the paddock as such, the processing of that, and then the obviously execution at the restaurant end as well, and the delivery of that produce to the plate. And it's about the interaction with our First Nations people as well, and the recognition of country, and then the service of that food. So it's quite, and that's a really basic overview I've just given you, because I'm not the city's expert on gastronomy, but having being a restaurant in that, I'm I guess a cog in that huge wheel. And usually, obviously, at the end of that. But we do have some wonderful local produce that we continue to highlight on when we put down our plates here at Ms Batterhams and with our events as well. And it's really lovely to see how that's growing and developing, and and I don't know how much more I can say, but there's lots of new ideas in the pipeline to expand that as well, and to keep growing that.
I love that.
And there's a lot of encouragement around that, which is excellent. So I think it's an exciting time for Bendigo being a city of gastronomy, because it's sort of a watch this space, see what it is now, how far it's come already, obviously, to get that accolade, but then how much further it's going to grow and develop to really sell that even better, or showcase that even better.
Part of the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, there's lots of different designations, but I think the City of Gastronomy designation I know that a few of the team members from the city that put that application together and walked that journey, and it was epic. Like you think about an awards presentation journey or an awards journey. I know the Bendigo Awards process is quite involved, but it's got nothing on a UNESCO city creative city
it's
network.
Huge. That's right. Yeah, they don't just hand them out willy-nilly. No.
But it's great recognition for our region and our city as being a cultural destination that is excelling in the growing and delivery of food, and really a linking of a depth of culture along with that.
That's right.
And that's a massive part of the Jara and the First Nations, our local First Nation people are really investing hard into food and pioneering. Like one of the past episodes, recent episodes, was with Rodney Carter, and he unpacks that a little bit in that episode about what they're doing. They're really like going next level in terms of producing food that was, has been existed here for thousands of years and has been grown here by their people in the past, but they're rediscovering and commercializing the growing of ancient grains and of yabbies and all sorts of wild and wonderful things that ultimately that story, I think, that you're able to tell through the paddock to plate analogy is it enriches the experience. When we zoom back into a restaurant goer's experience. If you've got a story behind the plate and you know a little bit about where it's come from and why it's been put there together with all the elements, that creates a depth of experience in your dining, in that dining moment that goes so far beyond the how much food can I get in my mouth, and if I'm paying $50 for a plate of food, it better be a mountain of food. There's the polar opposites there, right?
That's right. Well, it's really conscious eating, isn't it? Like you're really thinking about where this has come, how it's come to be, and how then it's prepared and then presented and then executed and obviously then eaten. So it's really inspiring what's going on. Like I said, it's watch this space and just watch how fantastic it will develop and grow.
And at the time of recording, last Thursday night, you won the Gastronomy Award for Best Restaurant in Bendigo?
Well, it was gastronomy, it was it was the City of Gastronomy.
Yeah.
So sorry, not the city, but the gastronomy award
category.
There wasn't a hospitality.
No, there wasn't.
Category. It was a gastronomy category. So
food and everything else that goes with it. Food and culture. And how did that make you feel? Like how was that experience for you?
Yeah. Well, I think it was really lovely. It just like it's a lovely, nice feeling to know that you're also ticking all the boxes with your staff and obviously with your customers, but for the greater city of Bendigo to see it as well, for other businesses to acknowledge it, because it wasn't just obviously hospitality. That that it's a kind of that pat on the back going, you're actually doing good, you're doing the right thing. And I think when Ellis and I set out to open this business, we really, as we said earlier on, we really wanted it to be a beautiful, quality, generous offering, and to contribute to the landscape, the hospitality landscape in Bendigo, and contribute something that would be recognised and positive and creating memories for people. So it seems like we're doing the right thing. So that's great. It's actually really nice to have it recognised. So, yeah. And
Love
by your
that.
peers as well, I think, by those people in your community. So who they know mostly what you're doing. So yeah.
Love that. And then one more point on external before we dive into some challenges and some lessons learned. How much do you read when you get reviewed? Do you pay attention to that?
Oh, reviews. We'll talk about reviews.
Yeah, I can tell right now that this is like your favourite topic.
I handle this better than Ellis does. Let me say that. It's such a tricky one because personally, I mean, I try to create a feedback culture at work.
Yep.
So I do always encourage our staff, and I did it just a feedback training recently with all the team on giving and receiving feedback and how to do that effectively and how you can grow and how you should always be asking for feedback. Like, how can I do this better? How can I be better at my job? What more can I do to be a better manager? Those kind of questions.
Wow.
Now, I don't always ask them all the time. I could do that better as well. But I think to think like that helps you grow as a person and be a better employee, a better manager, a better, overall a better person.
Yeah.
And so there's always, when you get feedback, when you get a review as, from an external person, there is always an element to look at that and go, okay, right, let's read it, let's break it down, let's acknowledge it, and then let's decide what we want to do with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the reviews are malice, right?
Yeah.
That can happen. Sometimes the reviews are from people who aren't necessarily educated on, or maybe it's because we haven't educated them enough about what we do. So perhaps they're misguided or, so there's always, sometimes mostly the reviews are really lovely and it's really lovely. And I share them with the team as well. I don't necessarily share the critical ones, but I do read them and then take them on board. And then how we grow as a business. It does help you to grow as a business as well and think about that, because then you can tweak little things. Okay, maybe we haven't communicated that as effectively as we could have. We thought we nailed it, but maybe we didn't. How could we do it better? So they are essential, but they have become a bit prolific. So, and I think everybody sort of sees himself as a little bit of a reviewer these days.
Sees himself as a critic.
And I would say that if I have got some feedback to give someone, I wouldn't do it on a public forum. I would do that privately. And so we do encourage that, to try and, if someone has got something to say, then please, email it to us rather than pop it on a public forum, because I just don't want to be. There's so much online negativity in this world. I don't want to be a part of any more of it, so I don't encourage that. Nice. But sorry. Reviews. Oh, what a fun topic.
Yeah. Look, it's too easy to be, to take out your frustration, things that may not be even remotely linked to your experience at a hospitality venue, to unload that through your keyboard.
Yes.
And a solid 1-star button push.
It's too easy if you want to do that. Yeah, there are other ways that you can do that if you need to.
Yeah.
So
we encourage that.
Yeah.
No, I love the culture that you're presenting and what you're building. Feedback is such a really, really important thing to be able to receive and to be able to give. You mentioned, running some, actually acknowledging that and running some training with your team. Why don't you paint me the scale of your team at the moment, and then how you go about setting them up to succeed in the delivery of good hospitality?
So in terms of the scale of the team, we've got 10 full-time employees now and give or take. So there's a few people who work part-time. So we've got within that, 3 people who work part-time as well, so permanently but part-time. And then we've got about 10 casuals. So give or take, depending on what time of year, people, how busy we are. So coming into the busier season now, sort of it starts to ramp up a bit. So we'll have more casuals on the books than, perhaps over winter, over, the colder months.
Yep.
In terms, it's interesting you ask about the feedback or the training, because we just, over the last few months, we run a lot of events, and we've had an event recently, and it perhaps wasn't as well organised on my part as it could have been, but it was, from a customer point of view, great, and the team did an amazing job. And I was debriefing with the team afterwards. I said, "Oh wow, I could have done that better," but it looks like the customers didn't even notice that we were pedaling our feet really fast under the water. Yeah. But to the surface, it looked like nothing was happening. Everything was running smoothly.
Yeah.
And they said, one of the teammates said, "Well, that's a credit to you, Rhianwen. You trained us really well." And I was like, that's really sweet. So I sort of thought, that's nice. So, and I think that's right, is investing in your people and training them. So we do a lot of on-the-job training, but we also, if there are courses that, that we see, there's a few hospitality courses that we've used through Evolve, and Bendigo Tourism have quite a lot of, social media training courses or some, other educational pieces that we might send them to. There's some wedding specific ones as well, because we obviously work in the wedding market. That's been an option, and also leadership ones. So, not just, as I said, conducting that feedback training, but sending them off on an external leadership training and making sure that they can then come back and debrief with us about what they've learned as well. So I'm actually sending myself one on, in the next couple of months. I was really excited. I was like, that'll be great, because, there's something you're always learning, aren't you? And,
of course.
And growing. So, so that's been, but it is hard to find the time in 7 nights a week and to find and dedicate the time as a small business to sending your staff off.
Yeah.
Because you have to cover that, person internally then if they're off on an external training course. But I think it's worth it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's part of becoming better as a individual, but as a team, to be able to invest in learning and development. I've never met anyone on this podcast specifically who has not been utterly dedicated to continuing to learn.
Yeah.
Because the best business leaders and the best businesses, they are all humble, and they are all willing to get better through learning and finding out what they don't know, and then rewriting things that they thought were true.
Yeah. I wish I could say that. I wish my 19-year-old son, or 18, he's nearly 19, he's 18 at the moment, but I said, you just don't know what you don't know yet. And the more you learn, the more you realise what you didn't know before.
Yep.
So anyway.
Yeah. No, that is a very relatable challenge of parents of teenagers, Rhianwen.
Yes.
We could go on a deep rabbit hole on
we could, and
parenting strategies and the challenges that teenagers.
Teenagers!
I've got that to look forward to in my future.
Yeah, you have. You're lucky it's a while away. You can start getting prepared now, because it's going to hurt.
Thanks. I want to round this episode out with some lessons, some challenges, and some tips for running good business. So I always say that on this podcast that failure is the best teacher. It is honestly, it can be a real pain, but some lessons can't be learned unless you take a risk and something fails, or you try something and it just didn't work like you expected it to. I'm wondering if there's anything that you can share with us that is, you tried something, worked out, it didn't work, and what did you learn from that?
Wow. So many things.
And right now you're shuffling through going,
I'm
which
like,
one
which
can I
one?
speak
I
about?
know, which one would be the best example? Well, I can talk about one that hasn't been, and I've got one that is a problem at the moment.
Right.
So I've got two.
Well,
that's
let's
okay.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, wait, there we go.
I'm ready.
So I think the gelato, if you take that, so that was something that we explored during COVID. It was just to be able to go and to expand for the business. So for the event side of things, to be able to then offer an offering, so you could have a gelati cart at your wedding. We would be able to take that out to other events. Whether that be the Elmore Field Days or a wedding offsite or a community market, and we did that. But it came out of the, I guess that idea with COVID. I was like, what can we do with outdoor dining? What's outdoors? What's safe? What brings joy? And so gelati brings joy to people, doesn't it?
Sure.
And we can do some wonderful things with that. So that. Was a great idea. It went off with a bit of a bang at the start. I think the first time we tried to open the cart, there was a mini lockdown,
yes,
so that was great.
That.
So we had to, and thunderstorms.
Yes.
So it was sort of a little double whammy on that one. And what we learnt with a gelati cart is it's certainly very weather dependent. And we learnt that because of thunderstorms. We learnt that when we booked in the Elmore Field Days and went out there for 3 days last year, and it basically got flooded.
Oh boy.
I think we sold one scoop of ice cream like the whole time. Like it was an epic failure, that event.
That is
and
wild.
Yeah, so
there's usually,
when you talk
like,
about
there's thousands and thousands of people there, but who wants gelati in a thunderstorm?
Oh, and also the cool room that we had failed on the first night, so then we lost all the gelati for that. So we had to write off a certain amount of gelati for the start of the event, and then it just rained. So that was an epic failure, like on massive scale, like lost thousands on that, gelati venture. But I guess that taught us is that it was taking a lot of. I should step back before that. What was great about the Gelati Cup was that we were employing younger generation and training them up on the gelati, and then transitioning them into the restaurant, and then training them up in the restaurant. So it was building their confidence from a customer service point of view. It was introducing them to the first workplace. It was giving them, they would manage, being able to manage the cart and some responsibility. So it was a really soft way to introduce employees into your business, and it was a great learning ground. So we had some really great team members who started there and who've now transitioned into the restaurant and are now doing other roles within McKenzie Quarters and Ms Batterhams. So that was really what was super great about it. It certainly brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. Yeah. I think Ellis's young kids and my kids loved it, eating their free gelati.
Oh, yeah.
And I think but what it taught us at that as well is that it was taking a lot of our energy and time to go off site and to to market it. It was a separate entity, like you've said before, on its own, and it wasn't necessarily aligned with the core elements of our business. So it was a distraction. Yeah. It wasn't complementing the business anymore. And I think that being able to kind of draw a line and say, and go, okay, well, actually, this is not right anymore for our business, and it's not necessarily profitable. It's not generating the talent that we wanted it to generate for, as a funnel for the staffing anymore. And it's taking away a lot of time and energy that we could be putting into other elements of the business that was on site. So we actually it's a difficult call because we all loved it. Yeah. It was so great, but it was actually, making that call going, it's not right for our business. That doesn't mean it's not right for another business, which, I think it is. It's just that it wasn't for us anymore, wasn't serving us anymore. And so cutting that loose and making that difficult decision.
Did you, were you happy with how quickly you made the decision to cut it? Was it, like you said, it was hard? I've tried things that I thought, man, this is going to work. Yeah. And then the tendency can be to just hold on a little bit too long. How did you find that process for you?
So we did give it a time frame. So we're really clear. So we're going to put our heart and soul into getting it out to every market, getting it out to the Elmore Field Days, getting it out to lots of put some money into actually marketing this out to so many other events, dedicate a resource, a certain amount of time to doing that. And we did, and that's when, like we said, we found the weather plays a huge role in whether you can get this out. And even after all of that, it still wasn't serving us and wasn't delivering the results that we wanted to see in this element of our business. So,
love that. So you put a timeline on it,
we
and
said,
then
okay,
when the time came up, it was an easy call.
It was a super easy call at that point because it just hadn't hit the bar that we'd set. So.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm learning lots.
So that's
like a key, right? To if you're trying something new, give it a time frame, and if it's working by this time, then you'll know whether it should be continued or discontinued.
Yeah, and I think we had it for 3 years in the end, so it was with us for quite some time. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing, because you do anything new, and I would say this now, being 4.5 years into the business, as a whole, with all of it operating, is that now is a lot easier than those first few years. And we take aside COVID, but it gets easier in the sense that you're more. It's not easy time at the moment, I would say that, but it gets easier because you understand your business more. You know what is realistic. You have data that you can call on. You've got a stronger team. People want to work for you. The reputations are there and those sorts of things. When you first start out, nobody knows who you are, what you're doing, and where where you're even based. So,
totally. Yeah. You mentioned another challenge.
Okay, so one of our challenges, and we talk about this quite a lot, is outdoor dining. So we, during the first year when we opened, we had a plan to do the outdoor dining section at the front of Ms Batterhams. We had all the permits and plans in the pipeline anyway, and then when COVID hit, it helped to, well, let's make this happen, because obviously you can't be inside, so you'll need to be outside. So we put some money into designing the outdoor, or getting it done, basically. So in October, Simon Rosa and his team completed that project for us, and it's amazing. We love it. But it's really hard to run an outdoor dining area for hospitality, particularly maybe in Bendigo, because it's either too hot or it's too cold. And,
True.
you know, people just don't seem to want to sit there with us. So for our particular space, that is our biggest challenge, because how do we get people to sit outside? And I think because the inside is so perhaps beautiful, and so we've talked about how do we make the outside dining area attractive, or you know, a place that people actually want to sit and be.
That is
a big challenge
open challenge.
An open challenge. It's like, if you've got ideas, happy to hear them.
Yes, great.
But I say this, that we have we had literally this week, we had a tiny little hedge that was around the outside. So we've just taken all of that out and we've replanted it with some taller trees that will then bush up and become higher. So to give it a bit more protective kind of cozier
like
feeling.
A booth feel.
Yeah, maybe like a green booth, leafy.
Booth. I like it. Yeah.
So we're wondering if that will then. So we're not just sitting there trying to keep going with what's not working. We are looking at, and we've put the UU there a little while ago, which I love. The UU's out there at the moment, and she brings beautiful bright colours to the area.
Yeah,
and
huge
personality.
Sculpture.
It's a funny looking sculpture. But yes,
you called it a UU.
It's called a UU.
What is it?
So the Royal Children's Hospital designed them. I think this was during COVID as well.
Yeah.
There's about 50 of them, and they were put around significant buildings in mainly Melbourne and Geelong area. Yeah. And so businesses purchased the use as a charity fundraising exercise for the Royal Children's Hospital, and then the businesses decided whether they wanted to keep them or not keep them. They were all painted and muraled by various different artists.
Okay.
So some businesses decided to keep theirs after they'd finished, and some decided no, they didn't want theirs, so they got resold. So we bought ours at auction, and Mike Macatron is the artist that has muraled our UU. It kind of looks like an elephant / wombat, doesn't it? It's sort of
it is.
It doesn't have a trunk, but it sort of is. Anyway, like a baby elephant.
Yes.
And Mike Macatron is a graffiti artist in Coburg and Brunswick area, and that's where we lived when we were in Melbourne. So we were quite familiar with his work, and it's a beautiful contrast to the 1877 building, red brick, Gothic revival style building out the front. So we love that contrast that it gives.
Love that. Yeah. I hope some wonderful ideas come from that, and I'd love to see that be a poppin' little spot.
Yes.
And I know the challenge, right, because the inside has such a draw to it, right? There's so many different elements in there that it's really hard to replicate that in that outdoor space. So
that's right. So
watch
I'm thinking,
this space.
Yes. Maybe some fairy lights. My husband loves fairy lights, so we'll see. we'll see. Watch his face.
All right. Love it. Well, Rhianwen, as we close out this episode, I always ask if you were giving some advice to someone maybe in the hospitality or the events industry, and what would you tell them? Like, what is Rhianwen's top tips for running business? What's most important to you?
Oh, right. I think most important is your staff, is your team, is creating and building a team around you that will support you and back you and ride the ride with you. And you can do that by hiring the person, not necessarily the skill. So I think you can train the skills, but you can't train the qualities, the values of the person. So hiring people who have similar values to you is really essential. You don't want them to be a mini you. In fact, you need difference. It's really crucial. But they need to have very similar values.
Love that. Love that.
And I have a saying as well that if not now, when? And so, and I use this with my exercise element in my life. And I tell all my mates about it. They'll, laugh when they listen to this. And every morning I have to do my exercise in the morning because otherwise I just won't do it. And it is essential to have, I guess, ensure you have a healthy body because especially with being in hospital, you're on your feet all the time. So doing an exercise that you enjoy, a strength building exercise. So in the morning when my alarm goes off at 5:30 or 4:45, I lie in bed and I go, if not now, when? And I have this if I can find another hour in the day to exercise, then that's okay. You can sleep in. So I have this debate in my mind, and then I'm going, okay, when can I find that next hour? When? No, I've got to do that. And then I run through, and then by that stage, I'm really awake. So then I'm like, I'm out of bed. I have to get it. It's now because I cannot find another hour. So that is the key for keeping my body and mind healthy, which enables me to have the energy to support the team and the business to reach the goals that we've reached.
Couple of gold nuggets there to finish. Thanks, Rhianwen.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much for joining me in the studio. I know we could have chatted for so much longer, but I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. It's just been a joy. I could talk to you for hours, and I love what you're doing, Caleb. It's great. And I've listened to a lot of your different podcasts, and I've been raving about them to other people too. So
that's great.
Thank you for bringing it to life.
Pleasure. Well, that's it for this episode. If you really enjoyed listening, why don't you drop a comment in the comments below? Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you get updates on when all of the next ones come out. That really helps grow this little community of people that are diving into regional business and celebrating and learning more from it. So really appreciate your support, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.